welcome Dr. Hannah Donahoe today to the podcast. I'm so excited to actually get a chance to have a conversation, sit down, talk to the audience today. The first time we met, we had a conversation while you were doing some body work on me, and it was such a joy and such a pleasure to see somebody love what they do and how they do it and who they do it for. And so I'm really excited to get to experience some of that in-depth knowledge that you have and your expertise. I know you've been practicing for a little over 5 years, and now you've got your doctor in chiropractic work. And so let us join us in the journey of walking us through what you've been up to and who you get to serve and how are you?
So I have been on a journey for about 5 years. Just started school, got out of COVID. That was fun. Really diving into what it means to be a chiropractor, what the body needs to truly heal naturally. My focus has really shifted towards women and women's cycles. I had a huge journey with that. And so I fully believe that in facilitating healing, the provider's medicine is truly what they've been through. So walking through that process myself of not having a cycle, not having some of those vital signs that we need as females of the cycle and telling it what it needs and just disconnected from the whole thing. I regained my cycle, went really on the fuck around find out method of you've got to figure it out because I was going through traditional medicine and it just was failing me. It was like, okay, you could either get on birth control, Accutane, and I was like, something feels off about those two
I don't
choices.
like
Is there another one? And the man in front of me was like, "No, you have cycle, sucks." Like, this is and so I was just something never sat right with me, so I started healing my cycle, going through that journey of learning what works, what doesn't, what maybe just testing different products, testing different stuff. And through the journey, I found out that my nervous system was the true key and that my nervous system couldn't adapt to anything. So I was wasting money and doing all this stuff, and none of it was sticking because my nerves was all dysregulated. So I serve clients now. I serve women. I serve men as well. But my real focus and passion project is serving women and helping them regain their cycle, which then leads into regaining their life back because most of them are just dysregulated, very emotional. There's all these different symptoms that stops us from doing fun things. So that's really where my life is at right now and my focus, building a practice here in Dallas.
Where exactly is it? The Source Chiropractic? Is that where your practice is out of? Or is that
Yeah. So we are the Source Chiropractic Dallas. We are part of a franchise that has multiple locations. So if anyone's listening, we have one in Denver, two in California, and then Seattle and Tucson, Arizona. So
amazing?
Dallas here, we're right across from West Village, super accessible off of 75.
Awesome. I know. Sweet. Well, let's get into it. I'm super excited about this conversation because as somebody who's had a dysregulated, irregular cycle and now regulated, I'm like, there's so much power in having a regulated system and cycle. From square one, what would even be some of the symptoms that people would even need to consider as being dysregulated?
So a lot of the symptoms are symptoms that we were told are normal,
Yeah.
which is crazy. So a lot of the symptoms show up as simple as bloating, discomfort, deep cramps, red flag. Should have some level, we will have some bloating, but excessive bloating where you see women and complain. I was one of them where I looked like 9 months pregnant on my cycle. We will have a set of pelvis gets heavier. There's that swell of the uterus, which that should be, but it shouldn't make you look pregnant. It shouldn't have this giant outburst. Heavy cramps, actually not normal. Very common, but not normal. So we should have little to no discomfort during our cycle. So those heavy cramps, those PMS symptoms where we're about to kill people, the irritability, the short fuzz, as my husband used to call it, anything would just set me off. Even big cravings. I know there's a tendency to have we've always learned that that was normal, that you can
Yeah.
chocolate and sweets, which some of that is to a degree, but if you're craving and craving and craving, have to eat.
People do everything to get yeah.
Yeah, that is usually a sign of some type of gut bacteria that is overriding or some type of nutritional deficiency that is coming out as a sign during your cycle that we really need to address. It can show majority of the stuff, it's
It's
stuff
the
that we've
things
been
that
told
we,
is
like,
normal.
joke about. It's like
Yeah,
the things that everybody jokes about, and they're like,
it's
"Yeah, that's
stuff
normal."
that everyone jokes about is so correct. It's like, "Oh, I can't do this," which, like, you will have a little hibernation and your energy slows, but it shouldn't wreck your life for a week, essentially, as
It's
we
so
were taught.
more powerful because it's like, I never really bought into the, like, "Oh, I should have cramps because I didn't I just never did, so I was like, "This isn't painful." But I had teammates, friends that had painful cramps, and I'm like, "What's up with that?" Like, and watching them go through that, I'm like, "This is terrible." Like, that just looks, like, awful. I'm glad I don't have that, but at some points, I didn't even have a period, so I was like, I didn't even I'm like, "Oh, that's fine." But in regards, I'm like, "That actually isn't fine either." So, like,
No, it's not. So that's another sign is it's not there.
yeah.
Or like really short ones or really long ones. Like the cycle length is definitely there. If they're not there, that was something that I went through too. I was a hyper athlete. I had little percent body fat, which like as women, that's like the standard that we want to get to. But reality is we need some body fat, especially in that like reproductive age where most women are trying to have 0% body fat. You can't lose it. Usually when you see women like that, they don't have a cycle, which is
Yeah.
wild.
We're like, you did all that for not even being regulated either.
Mhm.
What what would you say is, like, step 1 to, like, even, like, understanding at least for my journey, it was like, okay, first somebody pointed it out that that's not normal, you should, like, track your cycle. Like, what would the first step for somebody be, in your opinion, to, like, even start the process of figuring this out?
That's the best question ever because so many people don't know where to start, and that's what stops them from
Yeah,
start. So the first is understanding when your cycle is and understanding the three phases of your cycle. Most people think your cycle is just that 4 5 day 6 day whatever where you bleed, which is actually not true. We have a 28-day cycle. And so learning those different phases is just a little tidbit here of having like you start in your follicular phase. That's where the energy is starting to rise. You just had your bleed, which is that menstrual phase. So you go follicular phase. Then you go into an ovulation phase. That's the one everyone knows for fertility, trying to have babies. That's your window. And then you have the luteal phase, which is more where we're starting to slow down. This is where some of the irritability, this is where I usually see a lot of women's symptoms start to show up. And then you have that menstruation side, which is where the bleed happens. Understanding that is really key because you start to understand, okay, my cycle is not just 5 days, it's actually 28 days. And every single day in that 28 days, I am a completely different person, which is a fun thing to start to feel and identify. And then going into what are actual symptoms. So starting to log what are those symptoms and in which phase do they show up. And that's usually where I come in is that really noticed I was trying to teach women how to do this all by themselves. And in reality, you do need someone who helps you
yeah.
because I used to do this myself and I was like, "Man, I don't know what any of this means." So it
You're
was
like,
really
yep,
good.
and you're like, "What even?"
Like, I'm sort of you're, like, Googling stuff, and I'm like, they say this is normal, but it's not. Deeply rooted, I know this is not normal. So finding allies like, "Hi, I'm one."
Yeah.
Being like, "Okay, this is what I'm experiencing during this phase," and starting to log. That's where I start all my people with, is creating a log of when your symptoms show up and in what phase.
Do you have, like, a favorite app or anything that you guys use?
I do have a favorite app. In the beginning, I recommend Flow, the
Mhm.
little pink one.
Yeah.
That is a really good one for giving education, giving a just generic medical stage. It's very clear, it's not overwhelming. I start working with women, and as I start progressing on into, okay, we've gained the basic knowledge, let's go into more depth, is where I recommend Lively.
Okay.
I have loved that app. I still
I think
use,
I heard of that one.
oh my gosh, it's amazing. This is where I shift like basic knowledge of cycle and basic like red flags, symptoms to shifting to, okay, our nervous system is regulated. let's have fun and start to almost like biohack our system where we can start cycle syncing. Gives you basically, once you understand your cycle, you can see what to do in each phase. So Lively gives you recommendations of what food to be eating in each stage, what to do with your body, how to move, how to breathe, what you should maybe be avoiding, just where your assets are and where
It's like
you might.
these moments, like, take note of these things, not these.
For example, I have way more energy in my ovulation phase. So that's when I'm lifting heavy. That's when I'm sprinting. That is where I'm working on a lot of projects. My creativity is really high. I have very little focus. So that's where I'm not going to be doing like really detail oriented things. I'm going to save that for the later half. So it gives you those little tips that kind of help you navigate and almost like work with your system that you naturally
Yeah.
have.
No, that's really cool because the more that I've gotten it, like, tracking, I match my work with, like, my work and my workouts with my cycle, and I'm like, "I can do that in 2 weeks." Or you do content creation when you're ovulating because your skin's the best and, like, the you have the energy to actually do the stuff. That's so cool. It's
The
really
content has been my new project.
yeah.
That has been really, I'm like bulk videoing in the beginning, and then at the end, you'll see a lot more carousels, a
Yep.
lot more like purpose stuff, so I don't have to be on camera because I at this point, I'm posting every single day. You don't wanna be in front of a camera every single day.
It makes so much sense. That's literally what I've been talking about with some of my friends is, like, and I've learned it from them. Why like, batch create the content when you feel good, energized, look good, pretty like, you feel good, and then it translates way better, and then you just use your old stuff for when you literally don't wanna show up on a camera, 'cause not everybody wants to be on a camera every day.
Exactly. That's the best way to do it. Who builds in cycle for it? Easy.
It's easy once you know the game plan. I think, most people are operating in a system that wasn't designed for them to succeed, and then they're wondering why they're like, "This doesn't work." And I've watched that happen for myself, and I was like, "I cannot keep up with the men in my life," because I was always around men, and I was just like, "How do they have energy every freaking day?" Like, I wanna sit on a couch and, like, not do anything, and it's still the most productive thing for me to be doing, but for so long, it was like, "Don't do that." Like
Absolutely. Yeah, men have a 24-hour cycle.
24 hours.
Sick. They have a little bit of drop in testosterone, I will say. We cleared this up this past weekend. I did a women's workshop.
Yeah.
There is a slight drop of testosterone in the winter, but I'm curious how much of that goes into the sun. So they still have a 24-hour day cycle, which like that's awesome. And it's like we're not set up that way. We're not set up that way.
How do people start to 'cause you mentioned cycle syncing for a little bit. Touch on a little bit more on cycle syncing. Is there different foods that people should be eating in certain parts of the cycle? Is there, how should they go about that? Studying a little bit more.
So Lively was the best place for me to start
Sure.
to understand it because there are like little charts and stuff that you can get, and it shifts for me sometimes too of like where do I really want to be putting my focus and what am I wanting. I think that because I'm just not very like nutritionally sound. I came from Mississippi, so it's like we didn't learn much about nutrition. So that was my like Lively was what added that piece in because otherwise, like, I was just stuck on Google, just like, what foods to eat during my luteal phase? What foods to eat during this? And it would help me out a little bit. I really just started leaning into Lively. But to do all of the cycle syncing, you really have to get out of like flag zone on just simple or symptom overtaking because that's where I used to start out women on cycle syncing of being like, let's just start here. Let's start moving in this. And our results were we really were getting overran by symptoms. And it wasn't a clear definition of like, okay, this is what's going on. This is why our cycle is not doing yada, yada, yada. So it was getting out of red flag zone, meaning like our symptoms are minimal. We have maybe just like a few things now instead of like, I'm bloated. I feel like death. I kind of want to kill my partner when I'm on my cycle. I don't want to see anyone and leave me alone. I'm eating everything in my bed.
What's the time frame for people to have a good expectation for how long is it range from people to people, or is there a set kind of, like, if you give this 3 months or 4, like, what would you say?
That is the biggest, like, unknown. That's
Okay.
the biggest unknown, and that's what I've been trying to really figure out just because, like, I see women all day. That's what my practice is, like, really built off of, like, my core people are just straight cycles. That's what I've been trying to figure out because I have some girls who will get off of birth control. I've had, like, 2 people, for example.
Mhm.
Person's been on both of them have been on birth control for, like, 10 years. One of them just got off birth control, cycle started back. One got off, the other one got off of birth control, hasn't seen a cycle in 3 years.
Wow.
So and that's how I was. I have friends that got off birth control, and I was like, "Sick, you just have this blissful cycle." And me, I was like, "Where is it?
Hello.
A couple of years." So now I'm really trying to identify why. A lot of it has to do with gut bacteria and how much medication we've taken. How good is your gut? How good is your diet? Meaning like the nourishment that you're putting in. That usually is a big trend with women that I'm starting to see, and why it takes so long is that women will be very not nourishing themselves, meaning like there's an eating disorder present. There has been a lack of usually meat, a lot of animal products. That's where I'm starting to see the longer progression of regaining a cycle is usually starting to go off of nutritional value of how is the gut, how is your system, are you eating animal products? That's really what I've seen in, like, the past year.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, like, the system is supporting itself and it's easy to get back online. Another fun thing is trauma that's in there. That's a big being, like, some of the chiropractic that plays into this is that trauma can also show up. Like, our body holds the score of everything that
That
we.
that's from a book, right?
Yeah, so there is The Body Keeps the Score, great book, oh my gosh. But yeah, our body holds on to stuff, so a lot of the times those, like, deeply rooted traumas that have been in there since around childhood too are the big ones. That's usually in the lower half, especially around, like, women's pelvis, so that also can affect a cycle coming back on, which is really cool, but also like, "Whoa," like, that can happen? Yeah, so a lot of times it's addressing that, and then once we address some of this trauma, that's when the cycle starts to come on.
That's interesting. Do you have, like, do you address the trauma, or do you just, like, send them to therapy, or is it, like, this whole process of, like, you should probably see psychiatrists, or other individuals for this process, or do you get to have, like, these conversations with your patients?
That's me for sure.
Yeah.
I rarely refer out. I do work with, some psychiatric people, like psychologists, but it's usually when they're already in therapy is when I'm working with them. I If it gets too far, of course, and they, like, want someone to talk to because my appointments are 8 to 15 minutes depending
How
on
long?
but a lot of the times I'm asking people, I'm cueing people, I'm going into some of that trauma where in it's simple as like people when you place your hand on someone, people know. People know. They know what's there. So a lot of the times it's just getting them to address it. They will have some type of flashback, reminder, or just, I feel sad. Why do I feel sad? And I'm like giving some cues of like, when was the time you feel sad? I'll start going into some of that in
Yeah,
the adjustment
yeah.
and the body releasing that energy and releasing whatever's stored there can start getting the conversation moving. Sometimes it's just, hey, let's go chat for a minute really quick and just talking people through it or just a release of emotion on the table. We've had criers, we've had screamers, we've had laughter, like just uncontrollably laughing. I mean, we've had it all in the office and like that's what's really cool about the source is that like we're open to emotion and
That's so cool because I think that's the piece of the puzzle that, like, I'm like, when you can release an emotion and it's gone and it's metabolized, or is it alchemized or whatever, and then it's like, there's no more pain there.
that's what I'm starting to notice is that majority of physical presentations are emotional, energetic stuff.
Yeah. How long? Because you did energy work you studied energy work. Dive into that more because I'm very curious about that work as well.
Yeah, so I started doing it was when I entered chiropractic school. I started learning to how to put my hands on some people. I started learning how to read the body. I actually did not know I was really naturally gifted at it. I didn't know that. It's like I just
Nobody knows that.
grew up in Mississippi, grew up in a lot of practices where like that was not welcome in a Southern Baptist town. So I really got into school and started training with Kairos Training Culture, which I now am the lead of, and start running chiropractic seminars everywhere. Yay. But also, so I got introduced to there, and they were actually teaching energetic principles for the chiropractor because we started noticing how many chiropractors are dealing with a lot of energy, a lot of emotion, and they were taking it on themselves. So I was working with people, training, like, my first year in school, and I was, like, palpating people above their systems. Like, "Just close your eyes and feel," and I'm not touching people. I had no idea, but the leader of, like, the camp was like, "Hey, you do energy work?" And I was like, "No, not at all. No, I don't know what that is." He was like, "You weren't touching them, but you were," and I was like, "No, I was." He was like,
It's like,
"No, you weren't."
wow,
So after I started realizing that I had a really good like sensory perception for that of feeling energy, seeing energy. Once I figured out I kind of had that unlocked, I just started
then you're like,
training. I just dove in. I dove in and I was like, let's train it. Let's start to see in peace. So I started working with some mentors that also have some of those abilities, like that heightened feeling, that heightened sense of awareness for sight and seeing some of the energy fluctuations. Yeah, it's really fun because it's just patterning. It's really, we always like to take like the woo woo approach of like energy and all this stuff, but it's really scientifical and is really just pattern recognition is what it is. So just seeing that in people and then starting to just dive into it with them of not being afraid of someone crying, someone screaming, someone releasing. It's just like, "Okay, this is where we're going.
that's what we need to do right now.
We can do now. It's time to feel this."
That is really cool 'cause, energy is like when I learned that energy could not be created or destroyed, it's only transferred, I was like,
Yep. Exactly, exactly. That's where, like, a lot of my more, like, masculine, I'm like, "You're gonna feel this," and they're like, "Oh, what's that?" And I'm like, "It's just energy." Like, we learned this in grade school. We learned energy cannot be created or destroyed, so where does it go?
you're like, "Where does it need it?" And it's like, you get to be the facilitator that helps it go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So cool. So we've gotten to kind of like address the beginning stages, the little bit of like, I guess the next steps would be kind of like seeing you and getting like a plan in place. What do most people's plans in place look like when they come into the office with you?
Yeah. So, my initial process is bringing them in for an initial exam. So
Okay.
this is where some of that like therapy comes in. Is I spend 45 minutes with people.
Is
Like,
that normal? Because I don't think that that's normal in your industry. I was like,
what
that's
doctor
rare.
do you go to? 5 minutes. No, like it's literally just like, okay, 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 check all my boxes and then bye if you even see them for that long. So I spend 45 minutes with people. I mean, we are for sure doing a chiropractic exam. I'm learning the physical, how we move, how we breathe, I'm looking at your gait, I'm looking at a squat, I'm looking at how the body is in relation to its whole self, physical patterns, everything. But I'm also talking with them. It's like, what are some mental cues? What are some emotional cues? Like, what are things that are triggering us throughout our day, throughout our week? What happened in the past? That's usually where the therapy enters and opens up is like, what happened in the past that I need to know about that I'm gonna find on the table. Love you. We're gonna figure it out. So tell me now. That way we kind of know where we're going. And then, like, what's our goal? That's always a question that I feel like is never asked in
That makes so
healthcare.
much sense. Like, what's the even goal?
oh, what do we want to do? And then how much time and commitment do we want to put into it? Because I really do want to know that because that takes it from, okay, are we going to do a week intensive where you can only focus a week into this?
Mhm.
Or do we have actually 6 months? 6 months is really where I like to go. 6 months is like the standard of care for what I do because it allows me time, because time is part of the healing process for sure. But it allows us time to fully complete a healing cycle. So if you've ever heard of a gym, when you start going to the gym, or if you've ever like done coaching with anyone, they're like 3 months, you'll start to see it, you'll start to feel it. Around 6 months though, are where people are like, you're different. There's a there's I mean, like, there really is it's our cells are almost, like, rejuvenating after 6 months. So, I like to give people the time that, like, okay, if you put your focus in this, if you really take the time, you will be a different person at 6 months. I like to give us that time to create an entire different person.
That's
Like,
so cool.
just like, "Here's a Band-Aid, we have symptoms that feel better." Like, no, I want us to go deep really fast and then to just start breaking patterns. That's really where I like to go.
Yeah. I think that the work that you get to do is so transformational if they stick it through and if they go through the
Mm.
process, and part of the process is the time in there as well. That's so fun. What would you say some of the, like, I know you can't talk specifically, like, specific cases, but what's been some of, like, the coolest, like, client cases that you've had, or moments where you're like, "This changed somebody's life?"
Oh my gosh, literally every single person that comes up to see me. Yeah, we're not a standard chiropractic office.
Yeah.
I tell people that all the time, especially being a year out. I grew up in school of people telling me that, like, "Oh, you're not gonna be great until 3 to 5 years in practice. You're only gonna see generic back pain, neck pain, till you're 10 years in practice." And I'm like, "Hi." My 2nd week in practice, someone was, like, having debilitating seizures that ended up being from her cycle. She was completely disconnected from cycle wasn't happening, and she actually had seizures around her cycle. And we figured out that that was the window that she was supposed to be having her cycle, but she was having seizures during them.
No way.
Crazy. So having like people like that, like women like that, I mean, I see a range of people, and it's like I always focus just because like that's where my background is on cycles. But I have people with multiple personality disorder, that like have switch-ins in people. I see a lot of psychiatric cases. I see everything. I mean, down to, like, a chiropractor who's or someone who's sent they went to see chiropractors in the past and they got sent away because they have fused vertebras. They have places in their spine that are fused and chiropractors won't touch them, and they're in just deep pain. It's so I see so many people, so many different relations, trying to think of, like, one, like, cycle head I mean, regaining a cycle changes someone's life. It
How
really
does
does.
Okay, so how does it change somebody's life? Like, what are
Because
the ramifications of that?
yeah, so, for example, the one that I think of is that I have a girl, she gets migraines around her ovulation and her menstrual cycle. So, for 2 full weeks out of the month,
Mm,
she cannot work, cannot move, like, light cannot like, she's in a bedroom, blankets over her face for 2 weeks out of the month. There's only 4 weeks in a month. So, I mean, half of each month, she's just and she is a complete amazing human businesswoman, like, runs all of these companies. I think she has, like, 3 companies. And I'm just like, "My gosh, you're doing so much," but she has to stop. And, like, we got her to now, we only have really bad migraines during and she's only been seeing me for a couple months. But now she's so happy and her team is so happy. She's like, our team has me now. I'm able to be in the office 3 weeks versus just 2 weeks. So we're slowly working up to that. My goal is that we never have migraines again. Um, and they've started just okay, I've had one day where I had to go into darkness. I had a little migraine, but I was able to actually show up for work and talk to the team, support the team. It's been really fun just seeing miracles happen after they've been told that they can't have them anymore. It's so sad. It's ridiculous.
See, that's so cool. I know this is a little going backwards, but how did you even get into chiropractic work? Like, into energy work, and it wasn't that a crazy story as well?
Absolutely a crazy story. So again, go back to I grew up in Mississippi. I grew up in a Bible Belt. If you've never been to Mississippi, there's like one Whole Foods in the entire state. We're not a healthy state. I think we're getting really, really close to being the most obese state. I think Alabama still beats us, maybe. Yeah, we're really low on the natural health industry. But, it was COVID. I was on a medical track. I'd done a lot of, like, surgical mission trips, a lot of medical mission trips. I think that is what pulled a lot of the energetic and emotional capacity is that I was going to Haiti, the Dominican Republic. I spent summers over there, and, like, that will build your emotional capacity of dealing with women who had been sex trafficked and our property. So that really built I always like kinda that was the resume for building the emotional capacity of like, there's nothing that you can bring that is too much for me, is what I tell my clients. I'm like, there's nothing on the table that is too
You
much.
know,
I can't handle it. It's like, you go over there, you see things. So, that really built up the energetic side, the emotional side, and then I did a lot of surgical residencies, like, in overseas. So, I was doing being, like, an aide in the surgical team, doing surgeries, learning the medical side. I was on track to go to medical school, and then COVID hit. So and then there was just something in me that was like, "This is not it." Especially seeing the way COVID rolled out, I was like,
yeah,
"This ain't it." So I was like, what am I gonna do? I was at Whole Foods, natural, grocery store. And a woman walked up to me in the parking lot. One single old lady grabbed my arm, looked me in the eyes, and said, "You should be a chiropractor." Turned around and walked away. My sane self was like, okay, go home, find out the closest one is in Dallas. I apply that night, not even 24 hours thinking about this. I apply that night. I then start 2 weeks later. I've never been to a chiropractor. I'd not known about natural health. I, like, did nothing. I just had the requirements because I was on a medical track. I joined school because it was COVID. They were starting people early, so I was like, "Why not? Let me start online." I started online, ended up moving to Dallas, like, 3 months later.
that's incredible.
I mean, it was a total, like, God thing, like, I now question because, like, this is a fun story, but I now question if that woman was real. I really do, because no one was with me, no one saw her. It's really
Weird, right?
yeah, I'm like I mean, oh, yeah, which, like,
Like,
isn't big in Mississippi either, like, there's a few chiropractors, but it's not like chiropractic.
you're like, "Yay," like, I know there's a chiropractic place in Dallas, but, like,
Exactly, so I moved to Dallas, fell in love with it, was just obsessed
phenomenal.
with it, and just have never stopped chasing the obsession with chiropractic. I'm obsessed with it.
I love that. Like, I love finding people that are obsessed with their thing because, like, pure obsession and curiosity is the thing that creates the most amount of success for other people because 'cause they're the ones that are just like, "This this is what I this is what I focus on."
Absolutely. You also it's those are the ones you know are good chiropractors. When they're obsessed with chiropractic, like, that's the chiropractor I wanna see.
I was like, I've had one good I had chiropractic from, like, joint chiropractic for a little bit and because I, like, kept tweaking my neck and I was just like but I met this one chiropractor and he was phenomenal and he's like he kept teaching me stuff, and I was like, this is the first time I started learning about it, and then his Instagram had, like, teachable content, and he was like, "I don't wanna keep seeing you." He's like, "Do the stuff so that I don't have to keep seeing you," and it was the first, like, experience where I was like, "They don't want my money, they want me to heal," and I was like
Literally.
and
Yes.
he's still to this day, like, a really good friend, and I'm just like, "That's so crazy." I love what would you say, like, debunk the myth of, like, some people don't even wanna consider chiropractic as an option. What would you say the reason to consider it would be? Like
Oh my gosh, that's the best question ever because that's why we created the Source Chiropractic as a
okay,
sending my mother or my father or, like, any family member or friend to some random chiropractor. I'm scared of it. I'm not going to a random chiropractor that I've never seen or has never trained. I think there's a lot of scarcity around it because we hear the stories, we hear the shocks. I've seen some bad chiropractors, like, I'll say it, and I hate to and that's what we're really trying to change, is that, like, chiropractors stop eating their young, but and then letting the ego take over. There's been a I mean, it starts at the schools, just, my own personal preference, but, like, we're not teaching it the way it should be taught, which leads to ego injury and then just a full-on takeover of, like, not listening to people. So, or listening to the body in reality. So, that's why we created the Source Chiropractic was so that we knew there was a standard and that every single doctor in those offices are competent, trained their butts off, and also just have the awareness for the mental and the emotional and the spiritual that come into the body. What was the debunking one? That was what I was debunking. But what was the second part of the question?
I think it was you answered the question where it was
I was like, "I'm so passionate about this." I said, "Really?"
because I know a lot of people are scared of it. Like, I have family members that are scared of it, friends that are scared of it, and
Mhm.
I've always thought it was, like, so useful because I grew up in sports world, and I'm like, I had people popping my back, doing this, like, solving this problem with, like, dry needling and cupping and all of this stuff, so I'm, like, so used to that stuff, so it didn't even I never once questioned it, and then I realized there's a whole population of people that won't even consider it because 'cause they're scared of the pop or they're like, "I'm gonna die," and I'm like, "What?" Never considered it, so, it's like, what would you say?
I think the true fear comes from bad experiences. I have a couple clients that have, like, told me horror stories
Yeah,
of, like, having to take off their clothes, having to be completely naked in a room with a man with the door shut. And it's like, I hate that, and that's what we're really trying to change with the profession. Like, teach across the world, I teach seminar. We're trying to change that narrative because sadly, it's out there, and it's out there with every profession. I think in chiropractic, it's just really highlighted just because it's something that is not quote unquote like things. And if you want like my personal opinion, I think it's because we're helping people heal is what
mhm,
had like started taking
yeah,
chiropractic the past couple of years, just me being alone in school watching it of the past like 5 years, is that we're actually helping people heal. And I'm seeing more of the medical society start to take over of
that's
like we're
interesting.
always going to be rebellious, we're always going to be called quacks. Like you wanna define the definition of quack, like, it's giving false information, and, like, I don't know a better definition for the medical system right now. So it's like that's our way in the world, but also there are horror stories out there. Something that
That's
I always tell my clients because I do have clients that come in that are scared. That's okay. I'm like, "I love that you're here because now we can start getting you more comfortable and
kidding.
see this amazing profession that helps people heal." So I always talk with them. There's always some type of osseous lockout. And what I mean by that is like when neck adjustments are usually what we're scared of. The neck adjustments, they're rotating people's heads so far past the limit of the body, like it's
Naturally.
natural place. Yes. So rotating that really, really far starts to signal to the brain, I'm unsafe, I'm unsafe, I'm unsafe. And then you have a chiropractor go, I don't hear that and ram through that. That's terrifying. That's so scary. Like we act like it's not, but it is. So keep people in that natural state. What I teach the students is like we're in a state of ease. Like we don't have the muscles straining. Everything's not saying no, 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 no. It's saying, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Like, "Okay, hold it."
Love that, go more. Like, that is what I start teaching students and even clients sometimes. It's, "Okay, do you see how your body says no here? Okay, what about this? Do you see how it's, like, inviting me in versus blocking me out?" It's like, I'm learning that as a chiropractor to not go where their body is not wanting me to go.
Powerful. I think that's so like, I do believe that a lot of people just are so disconnected from their body that, like, they don't even know that that's a signal or a sign to even, like, "My body's saying no."
Like, yeah, yeah. That's the power of, like, what we do of, like, the hands-on experiences that, like, learning the body awareness is the biggest.
Could you say some of the things that you've learned about, like, the nervous system?
The body awareness of like
Okay.
body communicates to you. And that's what I tell people, in our I mean, we tell that to it's day 2. I mentioned it day 1, but day 2 is where I talk with people about a plan. And that's really what I talk to people about is that we are starting with true nervous system regulation. It is a communication between the body and the brain, and the brain and the body. A deeper level to this is going to mind and body versus body and mind. So it's like our brain, yes, our brain's communicating, but how can we consciously, like, how can our mind start to perceive what's going on in our body? So, it's-
Have you used AI at all to, like, help you guys with anything that you guys are working on? Because 'Cause I've used AI when it comes to, like, have this and I know it's not, like, the greatest thing for, like, doctor stuff, but I'm like, perception-wise, I'm like, "I'm feeling this thing. It's probably, like, a chakra block or, like, something like that." I'm like, "What chakra is this? What is this?" And then I find a correlation, I'm like, "That feels right for me," and then I change the thing, and I'm like, "This is how I've been using AI to solve a little bit of, like, nervous system problems." And it's been very powerful, so I'm like, have you guys used any AI?
use it every now and then. So we've started training our
Mhm.
AI. I also am like,
That's
so
cool.
I'm just like, I don't know about this. Where is this going? We will start to, we use it more on like language of whether it's just like messages in our emails and stuff like that. It's more of like the admin style that I'm using it with, or like some content of like, I don't like the way this is phrased or stuff like that. I'm having to use like a very educated mind of like,
Yeah,
got it. So we did start training our AI system of like, this is the source chiropractic. This is what we do. This is our language. Don't use this language. Like, we are a non-fear based, we're love centered. We are open to emotional and spiritual and mental stress as well as the physical. Like, we started training it a little bit, and that is where we really started to see a lot of those changes in language, but that's really all we've used it for. We really don't use it that much in the office. Yeah.
that's cool because 'cause you'll find the right people that start to be like, "Okay, this is the chiropractic place that I wanna go to."
Yeah, that's really where I'm like, okay, create me language around this, or like, just because we're an office full of women, we're just like, can we make this sound less stern? Because like sometimes we're just like, this is what we need, this is what we need. It's like, okay, can we fluff this, please? Like, this sounds kind of mean. 'Cause we're in our later half of our cycle. We need to sound. Oh, yeah. My CA uses it way more than I do.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Who would you say you're obsessed with right now? Like, what is your obsession, like, within either the cycles or the nervous system, or, like, what's the thing that you've just been like, "This is consuming my everyday thought?"
Okay, yes. Okay. I was like, everything. So within the span of, I mean, I'm always obsessed with chiropractic, but like finer tuned, I've been very obsessed with the deep front line of fascia.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was about to say this is like could be a whole nother recording. So I started noticing in just seeing women, seeing cycles, seeing trends. So it has to do with that. But I noticed a specific pattern that started replicating itself within clients. And so I started mapping it out just in general. And then I like go back into like all of the school and all the education. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is a fascial pattern, which fascia is like saran wrap for our body. It covers our muscles, it's covered our system. There's been a lot of studies that this is sort of part of the obsession that our fascial system is actually faster than our nervous system.
Interesting.
So that's where I was like, oh my gosh, why are we focused on the nervous system with the fascia? I started going and just like rabbit holes upon
Yeah.
rabbit holes because that's what I do at 3 a.m. So I started noticing it with female clients though. A lot of the clients, it was like clockwork, been on birth control, had some type of trauma, whether it was a miscarriage, traumatic birth, or just I fell on my tailbone in sports, some type of diaphragm gut issue, and then some type of like throat blockage, whether it's like chakra in the throat or like hard to voice what they need. I started digging into I, like, was just taking notes of these symptoms that people were coming into, and then the deep front line actually goes from, like, around our head, so it's like a band of tension around our head, it goes into our jaw, into our throat, goes through our rib cage, into, like, our diaphragm, which is, like, our center of power, our center of, like, where we know ourselves, down, connects all throughout pelvic floor. Like, it is lit up in pelvic floor, goes past that down into our knees, and then actually to the bottom of our toe. So, like, through ankle to our toe, literally your whole system. So I was finding, because I was like, why are women having when there's like what, that my head's up here, my pelvis is down here. Why are we having, and it was through the connection of the deep front line. So that's been my obsession lately. And the more I started to learn the deep front line, the more I saw it in cycles. Yeah. The more I was like, do you have jaw pain? And they're like, actually, yeah, I didn't know that related to my cycle. And I'm like, when do you have jaw pain? When do you have these headaches? It's around your cycle.
That's crazy. So it's like you gotta it's like starting to take note of when these things happen or like
Mhm.
I've had friends or pattern recognition that I've observed from like family and friends is like they'll get headaches when there's pressure changes in the weather. And I'm like, is it the weather or is it something else? Or is it like some part of them is reacting to the pressure?
Mhm. That, yeah, that is also something.
Is it a
It actually, I mean, it does have like a scientific background. So you ever learned about like the grounds, like titanium plates? I don't think they're called titanium,
the
but like
tectonic plates? Yeah.
there it is. I was like something close to that. Our head actually has all of those. Like we learned about like little babies and they have the little soft palate as like kids. So we have those. They've just hardened over time. And so when the pressure changes, it'll move them, which then creates a little bit of tension. Usually, though, it's too deep frontline tension. Usually, if you start digging into them, they've had something in the pelvis. And pelvic floor is usually probably like really compressed.
Yeah. What would you do to even, like, address that? Is it, like, a certain modality that you do, or is it, like, can they do something to their, like, body work or
I
yeah.
mean, the best way, and what I tell people and students and everyone that I'm ever teaching anywhere is the best way to move energy is breath, movement, or clearing the interference.
Mm.
So I do all three in my office.
Yeah,
I'm like, if I let's we're breathing on the table. Some people are like, oh my gosh, this is full on breath. But
but it works.
breath work works because especially with those pressure changes, breath work is what's going to change the pressure system. Movement always super helpful. There's like some physical chiropractors that were like, if I move my body every single day, I'll never need a chiropractor. I don't agree with that, but it's a good place to start. Uh,
Move your body.
it's clearing the interference, and that's like where chiropractic really comes in. It's like I'm going to clear the interference that's stopping the communication from your brain to your body.
Dig more into that, because like, what does that actually mean? Like, the interference, is that, like, a piece to the puzzle, like, from your energy work or from twisting the body in a certain way that, like, realigns something in the body that now talks to the brain and the body?
So this goes into like deep core what chiropractic was founded off of. The guy who created chiropractic, D.D. Paul, was like the only thing in chiropractic is for you to clear the interference. So there's some type, whether it be the joint is misaligned. Over time, we now have discovered that other things can come than just a joint moving. It can be any trauma, thought, or toxin is like we like to call it, like the 3 T's, like trauma, thoughts, and toxins that can come to interfere in a person's system that disconnects the brain from the body. So somewhere in there is interference. That's what chiropractors are supposed to be trained to feel is where the interference is and then how to clear it. Clearing it can look like a whole slew of can be like I do tonal techniques where I'm just like my finger is just on I'm just like breathe here, breathe here, and you'll see the system start to intake it. Some people We're not that in tune with our system. So that's where some of the physical pushes and like the physical adjustments come into play. It's like, okay, we're clearing this. This is what needs to be cleared. Where it is more deeply rooted into the joint or the nervous system or like the spinal cord is a little bit torsion. So clearing that interference, that really is the job of a chiropractor. You are like going into like full what is chiropractic. It's clearing the interference and then you're out. That's why some people are like, wow, I'm only in the office for 8 minutes. I was like, that's my job is to clear the interference and your body does the rest. Like your body has an innate system to heal itself. You have all the tools you need. All you need from me is to clear the interference. That's it. That's all I'm here for.
Powerful.
Right? Because then, I mean, like, think about how many chiropractors' egos are in the way. You start talking about the pain, you start talking about the symptoms. Like that's not healing. That's continuing the pattern versus I'm clearing the interference and I'm trusting that the body will do what it's made to do. That's and some people get caught off guard by that. And I'm like, that's what I do. That's all I do.
I've always, like, had this fundamental belief that, like, the body can heal itself, and so, like, and it like, it's a perfect system. It was created to be it's brilliant, and then, like, messing it up with certain things, I'm like, I'm pretty sure the body can heal itself. Knowing what to do and when to do and why to do it, I think it plays a big factor, and some people don't even consider that, like, the body can heal itself, and then, yeah, I'm sure they're like, "Oh, that wasn't" like, they go in for 8 minutes, and they're like, "That was it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, 'cause it can heal itself."
Like I'm just like I'm clearing the interference. That's it. They're like, we're not gonna do any heat, any ice. Still, I'm like, I'm nothing. Like I have no problem with all of that. But and the thing that I tell people all the time is like, if I fully believe that the body heals from the inside out, why am I about to waste 20 minutes of your time doing outside stuff? Why?
You're like, "Let's go inside."
Let's go inside. I'm gonna clear the root of the problem, and then that's where we're gonna go. I was like, also, you can put heat at home on yourself.
Yeah. You're like, "Let me tell you, you can put that and you can do it yourself."
Put it there yourself, but it's not doing much. Makes you feel better, but that's a whole nother realm.
That's powerful. What would you say, to the listeners, like, who's never been or, maybe they've tried everything under the sun, but they haven't come into chiropractor, like, why would they come in? Um,
I
I
feel like
don't
that's the reason they should
know.
come in. That's my clientele. I see those people all the time. It's like, I've been to a medical doctor. I don't need surgery. I've done blood work. I've done all this. I'm like, perfect. You're in the best place ever.
It's like at
Because
least they've tried some
that reassures me. Those clients that have like, I've been everything and now I'm here. I have nothing left. I see the best results from because they have nothing to lose. But also they're ready to heal at that point. And usually the only thing missing is they just need to be seen. They just literally need to be witnessed. Things start healing. It's crazy. This is actually a really fun story. There's a chiropractor. I don't know where he practices. I should know. But it was a man. His practice was solely built off of you go in, you lay on the table. He does not touch you. He doesn't do anything. He he doesn't do a single thing. You lay on the table, he just stands at the end of the table, and then you get up. Practice all of his people are, like, randomly, like, just the miracles after miracles. And he's like, "People just need to be seen. They just need to be acknowledged." That's a little too much for me, but how powerful
but it's so powerful.
he had a massive practice, like, saw hundreds of people. It's crazy. Just witnessing them.
Being the it's like making the container for somebody to be seen.
Mhm. Mhm.
Seen, safe, and
Exactly. I'm like, "We're gonna move some stuff. We're gonna feel some things." I mean, he did it. I mean, he really did, which is crazy. It's so powerful.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of anything else that we've, like, left off the table, whether it comes to, like I don't know if we touched on anything when it comes to, like, supplements or, like, how to, like some of the things to start to regulate, like, the gut health or that kind of process in the nervous system. Do you have any recommendations for individuals on like the gut microbiome, the getting that back in track?
Yeah, I always tell people my first when I'm seeing people that have like gut dysregulation is we are on nervous system regulation first because I was that person that I was eating all these different foods, trying all these different supplements. None of it is going to work until you get your nervous system receptive to accepting all of the stuff. So I'm like, you're gonna waste your money. You're gonna
Yeah,
waste all of your money on supplements. Then I've started having now that I've like gotten a little confident in practice, like just
yeah,
this doesn't, I promise you. It's gonna be a waste of money. People will be like, "Oh, I'm getting especially if they're in the initial exam and they'll say, "I'm getting my blood work done." I'm like, wait, because this blood work is not gonna be the same as when your nervous system." I was like, "Do a couple months with me, then go get it tested if we need stuff from there." Then we'll focus on it. But it goes back to the interference. It gut, and usually what I'll see is like that rib cage area where all of those nerves communicate to the gut and the gut biome. It's all blocked. So once we open that up, gut can now function the way it was supposed to. And the gut has bacteria to clear it out. So that's usually where I start working with people. And then if we need to supplement, we will. Like I take supplements now, so it's like I'm helping women, whether it's like women. There is a company, Heart and Soil. I love Heart and Soil. That is one that I have like put everything to. Chiropractic group. I love them. They are it's like all the
yeah,
gross.
there's weird things in it.
No, I'm not eating beef liver. I will, but if you have it in a pill form in a really good quality, I'm gonna take that sweet little capsule. So, they do that. They have amazing, like, grass-fed beef organs and reproductive organs. That is usually what I'll put women after we have that nervous system regulation, I'll send women there. Um, Probiotics are amazing. I love Seed, the little green one. That's like I love that one. I take it just for probiotics and helping that gut biome. But again, if the gut is just overrun, that is where we start with the nervous system and then start to add things.
That's powerful.
Yeah. It's really cool.
I loved everything about this conversation. I'm like, I love seeing the obsession, and then it's like the amount of things and tools in the tool belt that you can have when something goes wrong. It's like, then you know, okay, now I need to do this. Now I need to do this. That's been a big part of like my healing journey is like knowing what to do and when and why. And like, what is this even saying? And why is this happening in my body? Do you have any final thoughts, for anybody for the do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah. Build a team of people because that's so just what you said. Like that's the ultimate goal is to have the awareness, to have the regulation of why is this going on? I feel this, but why is it happening? Where is it coming from? I mean, I still have those things. Literally yesterday, I was like spiraling. I was like, I am feeling chaos. Emotions are all over the place. Like he, as my husband calls it, like being a little bit more like that masculine, like
Yeah,
like I need to clean, I need to do this. And I was like, where is all this coming from? And so I reached out to one of my friends and I was like, hey, I'm feeling funky today. How are you feeling? And she's like, it's the full moon. And I was like, oh, okay. That makes way more sense. I was like, okay, cool. It doesn't negate everything that's going on. It's just like, okay, my body is in need for support. And I have the people around me that can either help me with that support. It's like I have some massage therapists that's like when I need body work, I'm gonna go get body work. Have I mean, I see a chiropractor multiple times a week of like, hey, I need to get adjusted. My nervous system's feeling funky. Like I need to go get adjusted, or just simple people to talk to of like, I don't know what's going on. Like, where is this coming from? So that you could get an outside perspective. Because a lot of times we can't see our own stuff. So it's good to have an outside perspective. So it's like build your team. If you need help building a team, like, hi, we know so many people in Dallas. Like that's what we do.
that's powerful. And how can people get in touch with you? Whether they're students wanting to learn from you guys, for your workshops, socials, like, where can people find you guys?
Instagram is the best. I'm on it every day. It's like my life. It's really like ClickFunnels for just seeing people. So I answer my own DMs. Like I'm not some crazy influencer. Like hi. So at Dr. Hannah Donahoe, and then we also have a source one. So at the source Dallas, you can reach out through there. That's gonna be what's gonna be responsive fastest. We also have an email and a website. Those are on if you just Google the source Chiropractic Dallas. Our email is on there and our website is on there as well.
This was so fun. I learned so much. I hope everybody that tuned in gets to learn a lot from you, and I just can't wait to see your practice keep growing, and I love what you guys are doing, and it's true healing, and I think that's a piece of the puzzle that I'm like, we need true healing. There's enough nonsense in the world, and the fact that there's actual answers to real problems and you guys have them and solve them is so powerful. So keep doing what you're doing, and I can't wait to watch it from afar.
Thank you.
Amazing.